Hello and welcome to a special live episode of the Corepunk podcast. Hi Mike, how are you doing? You all right?
Hey man, I'm very good. How are you?
I'm good. Exciting. So
Live.
yeah, yes.
Excited.
So from now on, we're going to be doing it live. Twitch.tv/Corepunkers. If you're watching this later on YouTube, if you follow us over there, you'll get a notification when we go live. Hello to those in chat. We can see you, and we'll give you a nod at the end. If there's anything that we get wrong, let us know. But yeah, I'm calling this episode a huge win for Artificial Core.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about that, Mike?
I think it's a very good synopsis of the alpha
Yeah,
so far. I think it certainly is a win as far as I'm concerned.
yeah,
Um, Obviously we'll go into detail as to why. Um, but yeah, how about yourself?
yeah. I thought this weekend was really positive. Like I said, I do think it's a huge win for Artificial Core and how, yeah, they've sort of just. What surprised me is how quickly they've pushed feedback. Like they've implemented the feedback, should I say?
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, and I think it's just like it's sort of renewed the faith a bit, because I was a bit sort of not dis. Yeah, I was a bit disheartened going out of the last play test just because I don't know. I wasn't expecting too much. There was a lot of faults with the questing system and just sort of those things that sort of did my head in. And
yeah,
in this one, I actively saw like uh, them rectifying the feedback that I gave. An example to that
exactly.
easy one was just sort of like in the journal for the quests, there is now just a little bit that says the quest give a name and near the tree left of the forest or whatever, which is all you need.
Yeah, exactly. Um, I think I kind of echo that your initial sentiments of the last playtest. I wasn't disappointed. Um, I certainly felt jaded's probably the word I'd use of like the first to second playtest. Well, the initial one we played to the first playtest felt great because there was
Yeah,
changes, and then the first playtest to the second playtest didn't feel quite as productive. It certainly felt like a step back, especially in terms of like bugs and various other bits. Um, but then, like you say, second to this alpha is that delay we had, because obviously we had the 2 week delay. They were planned on start at the beginning of December and pushed it back a couple of weeks.
yeah,
It certainly paid dividends as far as I'm concerned.
yeah, yeah. So, who did you play in this Alpha, Mike? Well, I know because
Played
we played
Blast Medic
together.
again.
But
Yeah, yeah. I played Blast Medic again. I just feel like I don't know. I gelled with it in the other playtests, and I also um just generally I don't know. I feel like range has got a bit more of a punch at the moment. Certainly has a not an advantage, but it certainly feels a bit more user friendly to
yeah,
for an MMO player.
I didn't feel too bad because I played Destroyer, which I'm
Mhm.
so surprised at how much I'm enjoying that sort of heavy melee sort of champion. Because I obviously
Yeah.
wanted to play Ranger in the playtest, who wasn't officially available in the playtest, but there were some
No, it
people
wasn't.
who were able to access it. Um,
Yes. Interesting, that isn't it?
which is funny. I wonder if there's be any comeuppance from Artificial Core for people who unlocked stuff.
Yeah, it's that thing of and I mean I know we're going on to the article in a bit about what they found
Yeah,
and
I'll
stuff,
bring
and
it
they
up.
do
I'll
talk
bring it up.
about security. One of the things they mention is about people helping with uh, quote unquote security and flaws and stuff.
Well, 1 second, Mac. I've cut off your microphone on that one. Let me add you to that so people can hear you.
You hear me now?
Uh,
Is that me?
you should be in there now, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So it's interesting how Corepunk had said there was security issues. Obviously, they closed the alpha early due to some concerns. But yeah, I wonder if there is, because there were rangers in the game, not officially, but there were people going around playing the ranger class.
Yeah.
And in the stores and stuff, to be fair, you could buy bows and you could do those bits. Like the ranger was in there, it just wasn't accessible without maybe some illegitimate means. Maybe is maybe how
Yeah,
I'd
I have no
describe it.
idea. Oh, they got the dev. What was it? Sort of like the dev files or the
Yeah, they
console
did
or
some
something.
jiggery pokery, which
Some
is
magic.
fine. But eh, if the my stance is on it is yes, a lot of it can be in the game, but if the developers purposefully locked it behind something, there is a reason for that. Like, so what are you doing?
Yeah,
Why are
well,
you
it's
messing around with stuff? Because you're gonna find things that aren't gonna work. The reason why the Ranger wasn't accessible is because they said they were gonna try. For whatever reason, it wasn't ready. So why are you why are you messing around? It's like going back into the staff room of a shop. It's like that's not your place. You
yeah,
know, stay in the shop
yeah.
front. But that's just me personally.
And I guess sort of well, I guess those people who were able to play as the ranger can't really sort of fault the game on that either. You know what I mean? I was going to say, well, you'll be seeing parts of the game that are unfinished by playing as that, and then probably getting a bad
Yeah.
idea. But by actively unlocking it yourself, you sort of voiding warranty, should I say, to sort of complain about the game at that point
Yeah,
with
yeah.
that character at least. You know?
You're playing a product that isn't there to be played, and it's all fun data mining and stuff, and seeing what files are there because there is an innate natural thing of as a consumer of someone who wants to play a game to find all these little things, but in an
Yeah,
alpha concept there is definitely like chill. The ranger's not in.
yeah,
Cool, you can play him, but you probably shouldn't. It's just
yeah,
just because you can doesn't mean you should. Um,
yeah,
but aside from that, I thought the playtest
yeah. So
was brilliant.
So Artificial Core don't seem to have minded too much about that because they've actually said, I don't know if this is what they're sort of hinting at here with sort of they said a lot of people they're extremely grateful for the help. Where is it at? Please do. We've lost the important observation. I can't think where I've seen about the security flaws now. Was it in this bit?
Yeah,
Oh
it's at
yeah,
the
that
top,
was
I
it. Yeah.
think.
So highlighted. Yeah, they said thanks for sharing your experiences, highlighting bugs and improvements, and searching for security flaws. So it
Mm.
must be that what they're talking about, them security flaws of unlocking parts of the
Y-
game and
Yeah, but yeah, I get it. I've never really done too much. I try and approach all beta alpha tests as a consumer rather than
yeah,
a proxy developer.
yeah,
Um, so like I would never find intentionally go and try and find how secure something might be. I feel like that's you're towing quite an interesting line there, I think, really, in terms of I guess there is benefit if they find something, but then there is also the malintent side of that is that they could find those security flaws, which is great, but it's only great if they report it to Artificial Core.
yeah,
If they keep that as a secret and then utilize it in future,
yeah,
it's a bit shady, isn't it?
yeah.
But I don't want to detract too much from it because I think my
No,
takeaway from this is like the alpha was brilliant. It's
yeah,
like so good.
really positive. Yeah, I think like I'll pull over to our little video of us playing, but um, being able to just go out in the world, here's some footage of me. You will see Mike at some point pop up on the screen because we were playing together.
Mhm.
But we were out for hours, and we weren't able to do that in the first two play tests. You weren't able just to go out, use your spells, stay out in the world without it just sort of like being very punishing. And this time we were going
Yeah,
deep into the forests, um,
yeah.
with the great help of some friends on there. Wow, uh,
Wawa Wolf was there.
wow, Wolf
Um,
leading us the way,
who
level
else?
9.
See, we saw quite a few names, the usual suspects. But yeah, he did. He took us up. We tried to get to the quest again, and
Yeah, try to go and
we
find
stumbled
Zeke's
across that.
brother.
Yeah, but the positives. So they've in talks about implementing stuff from the second playtest to the alpha. Um, they added a new. They've added well, obviously they've added the resource hubs. Um, with all like where you can do the cooking, which was there anyway, but
The
there was the
crafting.
logging place, the
Yeah.
the smelter place, and all that stuff. And they also added quite a few new NPCs. There was new NPC on the path to the
All the
main city.
crafting sort of places had a new NPC and a new quest, didn't they? That I
Yeah,
found, like all the logging, yeah,
yeah,
the little dwarf mining. Um,
yeah. So that was good. But yeah, like you say, I think I streamed it for 7 hours,
yeah,
like
played a
just,
lot.
and it felt like 10 minutes, like kind
Yeah,
of like, oh, I should probably stop playing now. And that was a good sign considering, it's all with the usual caveat of alpha is alpha. Um, of course, it's not a complete game. It's never going to be a complete game at this stage. So anyone expecting anything different from that, of course, you're going to feel disappointed.
yeah,
Um, but to be able to play, like you say, for a prolonged period of time without either feeling burnt out, unable to do something, or just general like not quite sure what your focus is, felt like we were pretty focused. We knew how to, like we approached the quests,
yeah,
um, and all that. So I certainly feel overall that it gave a bit more of that taste of this will probably be similar to what we'll expect in that first 1 to 5, 6 levels. Um, this is kind of a user experience, and they do talk about in the article that they're going to improve the one. I think it's one to
one
five
to
level
five. Yeah,
experience,
so
was
yeah,
it?
so they say it
So,
here. So
so they know it's not perfect.
yeah, so here's some of the stuff that they mention that they want to fix. There's level 1 to 5 gameplay and tutorials. This is everything that's come back from the feedback. Better questing, more quality of life features, more content and world exploration, which is a really weird one to put. I just think
hmm
I don't know if that's just into. I guess that's just in terms of the play tests. You know
I
that
feel like that's a translation of yeah, in a not
you
that
want
we
more
don't have
content and
this in the
yeah,
game.
yeah,
As more as that there'll be more to play
yeah,
in
yeah.
future.
Increasing the numbers of players on per shard, which yeah, I definitely felt in this playtest that the world was a lot emptier compared to when in the first playtest when there was only 21 of us allowed in.
Yeah,
Um,
it felt like they maybe over-egged the spreading of the shard. So
yeah,
obviously the whole point of shards is so it doesn't feel too much. So things
yeah,
like because in a game like this, obviously nodes are first come first serve,
yeah,
which creates competitive. But if you're going to have 1,000 people all fighting for one node, it's going to become near impossible for the player experience to feel anything but awful. But then the other side of it, like you say, this playtest certainly felt like what I was maybe in with 10,
yeah,
15,
yeah, yeah,
maybe. Like in it, like maybe that middle ground of if 100 is too much and 15 is too little, maybe we need to be erring on the side of like 50, 60. Obviously, that doesn't take into account server instability.
yeah.
Because I don't know what they've tested in terms of numbers, but that is important. I think you're right in the sense that it did feel more empty considering this was an alpha with more people
It did.
in it.
Yeah,
But I will also say to that, when obviously because it wasn't NDA and we can talk about it and we streamed it and all that stuff, I think the localization of who was playing, the demographics, um, it like South Africa, South America, sorry. There was a lot of Portuguese, Spanish speaking. There was Russians playing it, like the localization of it. So they would have been on the respective servers, I guess, in
yeah.
that sense. So maybe that's something
I quite
I didn't expect.
the other side to that though was it was really exciting when you did bump into a player. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You're out a
true.
lot, so there's that like that balance of sort of you don't want it to be everyone because obviously the nodes as well aren't shareable, are they? Like you know what I mean? If we're
No,
out, we had to split our nodes when gathering materials.
yeah,
You don't want the world to be too full. You'll never be able to get anything.
yeah. I certainly think a early on alleviation of that is if you're in a party,
Yeah,
just
shareable.
having shared loot.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
it
shared.
it seems like it feels like a very and again, we're not game developers. I don't know how it feels like it would be an easy fix that in sense of ensuring that that early on experience, if you're solo, you're not left out, but
Yeah,
also if you are in a group, you're not hogging up space where solo people can't get in because you need to fight for the quest items three, four. Like, if you've got four people in your group and you're trying to get 10 rat tails, like that's suddenly a longer time than getting 40 rat tails than it is getting 10 because you're
yeah,
killing quadruple the amount. So
yeah,
I feel like that's a very easy that kind of ticks the level 1 to 5 experience, the shard experience, and like the quality of life. There's three ticks there for one
one thing.
simple change. Well, I say simple change.
Yeah, yeah. We have no idea.
No
Um,
idea.
I think that was my main takeaway of this. Now was I finally felt I really did feel what the loop of the game is going to be. Started to feel that pull of just like, right, I need to get gold because I want to get this armor and I want to start finding these artifacts. And
Yep.
the main issue now is just sort of which is their second point, the next point, which is economy, craft, and combat balance improvements. The 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 sort of balance between sort of the mana regen and health regen is just so crazy. It really needs
Yeah.
addressing now. That's what I'm
Yeah.
hoping we see in the next one. Still, it was a lot better in this, a lot easier to the implementation of fires in town that you could just sit without
Yeah.
crafting
That was good.
yourself was great. The
Mm.
implementation of the first quest that now gives you everything you need to make a fire from the guy at the stall. Another
Yeah.
great move. Like all these negatives that we're bringing up. Yeah, sort of. I'm not undermining how positive this playtest was because I really
Yeah.
enjoyed this one. I'm sort of
It
I'm
just
as high on
needs
the game
it.
now as I was after the first playtest. You know, which is
Yeah.
great to be
Same.
back there. You know.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it's more just further refinement and hopefully having more people experience this iteration. And if the feedback is still like, oh, like health and mana regen is still an issue for the majority of people,
yeah,
I certainly think, um, that there is still effort to be done because I think early that level 1 to 5 experience or 1 to 10, I saw some quite high levels by the end of the playtest. I know it becomes less of an issue the further you get up there, but you want those people who have never played the game to feel like this is a game they want to play.
yeah,
And if you make it too hard at that big, because it doesn't matter it doesn't, if you get to level 15 upwards, and it's less of an issue, that's great, but you've got to get the people to level 15. And
yeah,
if they're not enjoying that bit, then they'll never get to 15 where it is. It's like watching a film. I think we talked about this when we were streaming. I made the thing of like, oh, just keep watching this series. It gets really good, like 5 episodes in. It's like, well, that's fine, but you need to make it interesting for those first 5 episodes.
yeah,
Or else you're just gonna people tune out. People will tune out and they'll go, the game's shit, and then people will just take that and not do their own research or play the game and just kind of as that mass consensus gets bigger, it's very hard to contain because that beginning experience is so important. You want to feel like you want to get to level 15 where it isn't a problem. But
yeah,
and for the most part, people who've played MMOs will persist, will stick it out. But that very newer audience that maybe because of how unique Corpunk's, like top-down play, very
yeah,
reminiscent of like your League of Legends and stuff like that. Um, that could be a whole new audience that'll play and go, God, this is really difficult, and then just
yeah.
tune out. So I hope that doesn't happen, but we'll have to see.
It's a good point you make because Estes in the chat as there has just said after level 10. Like you said, once you get further on, regeneration isn't a problem. But we played for 7 hours, and like you said, I don't think I got to level 5 in the end. And I don't feel like I was not playing the game correctly or taking my time with things. Um, I was, but so it does need to be updated in that early game of, yeah, like you said, getting that 1 to 5, giving you a bit. But I guess, do they care? Like at that point, like do they care, because they've said they want this to be a hard sort of survivalist MMO, and maybe this 1 to 5 bit of the struggle is their sort of weeding out the people who aren't going to stay with the
Yeah,
game long term anyway. You know,
yeah, yeah. There is the other side of the coin, and I get that. Um, I think you are kind of shoehorning yourself into a very, like hard doesn't mean better. This
no,
is a thing that I find like World of Warcraft's one of the best examples of it. When World of Warcraft Classic, which arguably is very, very popular right now, the game isn't that hard.
no,
The game is 1 to 60, even up to Lich King, which it is now. The raids were challenging. There was a challenge there, but it wasn't impossible. And then they made it really, really hard, mythic raiding and stuff, and people tuned out. Like it's such a small subset, and if you're aiming for them, if you're aiming for the people who want the hardcore, this is really difficult, and yeah, I've made it past level 5 or level 10, perfect. Like, but know that that isn't the mass majority of players.
yeah,
You're only going to get your couple of thousand people playing the game then, and if that's what you want, perfect. But harder doesn't make better.
no.
Like
I
that
definitely
in
feel
in
like
my
they did
opinion.
tone it down in this playtest to the first two, because I was attacking mobs by myself quite a bit,
Yeah,
um, out in the
the
world and
quality
staying
of
out there.
life, the quality of life bits, like you say, the mana cost of stuff. So the regen thing wasn't an issue because they adjusted the mana cost of stuff. Because
Yeah,
when we first played, one spell was nearly 40-50% of your mana bar,
yeah,
and now it's 5 or 10%. So, like, the regen becomes less of an issue at that point, which is fine. But like I say, it harder doesn't make it better.
no, yeah. It was
And
great.
if you want, yeah,
Sorry,
go on.
go on.
I was just going to say, if you want a, there are plenty of survival games out there, and if you want, I don't know, it is nice to be in a world with other people. I know Rust is another big survival
Yeah,
MMO, I guess, because it's like big server-based stuff.
I've
Um,
I've just sorry.
but yeah,
I'm gonna cut you off. I think
um,
because we made this point when we were streaming, right? And if they do want to go to this survival point, and I think I saw this in someone's YouTube video actually, so I wish I can't think who they are to sort of give them credit. But so yeah, this wasn't my original idea. But what they say is that if you are doing this survival, you can't really say it's a survival game, because if you think of the sort of survival games of like Valheim, stuff like that, all your nodes and your resources and stuff like that are readily available. So, like, you know what I mean? We're in this forest now that you can see, but you can't chop
yeah,
every tree down to get a resource to then
yeah,
craft a fire to get the mana regen or the health regen that you need. You made a
yeah,
great example of collecting the wheat seeds. He stood in
mm,
a wheat field, and he can't chop wheat to get the
yeah,
seeds. You have to collect it in the
in the
few
bags
bags that
already.
are
Yeah,
about. So it's that sort of like, yeah, survival games like Valheim, which are really tough. Like, you can get killed by a tree within the first 10 seconds of being in the game. You know what I mean? If you knock down a tree and it lands on you, you're dead. Um, so
mm. But
it's a
you make a good point. It's towing that line of like having you've got complete theme park experience, which is where it puts you on rails and you do this story quest and you do this story quest and maybe introduce the dungeon and you keep going and everything's on track for you to get to an
yeah,
end point. And then you've got complete sandbox survival. And I know Corepunk feels like it's wants to toe the line of kind of maybe nearer the sandbox survival
yeah,
esque.
yeah,
That's fine, but like you say, then it comes to a point, like you say, Valheim, Minecraft. As much as it's a blocky, like people like to crap on Minecraft, it's arguably one of the best games in terms of sandbox out there
It's
ever.
a dangerous game for
Um,
me. I
every tree is choppable. Every bit of ground is diggable. You know, like when you talk about sandbox, you need it, you either need it all and not,
yeah,
and like the middle ground maybe doesn't quite gel as good, like you say, because we're stood around trees there, and you have to run past 200, 300 trees to chop the one tree.
yeah.
So that's something interesting.
It felt like there was a lot of nodes that were missing. This like nodes available to chop were less in this playtest as well. I don't know if you felt that at all.
What was that? Sorry. I
Um,
just I was watching the footage. I was just like, yeah, it's a pretty game in it.
yeah, I was saying that no, I feel like nodes weren't as available in this playtest as they were in the previous.
Yeah, 100%. I think s- yeah, I feel like we were coming across maybe not every cluster of trees, but every one or two clusters, there'd be a magic tree or an ancient tree or a bush or something like that.
Yeah,
Um, so that certainly felt scaled back, and whether again it was in line with the shard thing of like maybe they wanted to make sure there wasn't too many players and not enough nodes, so they've
yeah.
kind of scaled it. But like you say, overall, apart from these wolves beating us to
Oh god, the wolves are
absolute
so hard,
sniper.
and that's another point on their thing for the next one is fixing broken mob behavior. Uh,
Yeah,
because like yeah, here in a second when it pops back up again, we were just getting killed all the time by these bloody wolves, and you just can't do
yeah,
anything. And I know they were a higher
yeah.
level than us, but you can't even escape from it.
No, they were, and they did it. Credit where credit's due, because we did talk about this in the previous podcast when we talked, and we were saying like it would have been really nice for them to tell us what was in the alpha or the playtest, and they did do that this time. It was in the
Yeah,
launcher
yeah, yeah,
browser. It said, here is the list of the things we've put in. Here are the list of things we know don't work, and aggro was one of them. So when we were getting absolutely annihilated by alpha wolves and stuff,
yeah,
we kind of understood it in the sense like it was like okay. Whereas if we hadn't, we would have just assumed that that is the game, you
yeah,
know, like so. So there was certainly value and in that.
yeah,
Um, so I'm glad they did implement that. But yeah, there was, and again, I hear people talking about like this is just a playtest bed, like this isn't actually the game, and then other people are sure that it's the game. Whichever side of the fence it falls, if this is the game, having mobs that high, that close to the starter area, it doesn't matter how
yeah,
hardcore or how good you think you are at that game, you cannot beat those wolves at a level that you could achieve early on.
yeah.
No one could. Unless
No.
you bug them behind a rock, which isn't how the game's meant to be played. Because I know some people do that and they go, oh, yeah, well, you just get them stuck behind a rock. That's not
Yeah,
how
no,
it
yeah. We don't
works.
want to
That's not the
cheese it,
game,
dear. You
you
don't
know,
want to
like,
cheese it.
yeah, like, so, so there certainly is that side of it. Um, but then also, if they are, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's the best having it them too close or as close as they were. But then again, the aggro range, if it was shorter or not as intense, like you know, like I was getting aggroed before the red dot appeared on my fog of war, which I
Yeah.
feel like you're always going to lose that battle, then, aren't
Well,
you? You heard the music change, but you wouldn't see them on the map.
I thought I feel like the fog of war just doesn't work for the mobs. Like I feel like you know what I mean. Once they see you, they can just see you, just no matter how what you put in the path. Um, yeah, I just feel like you know, the fog of war just doesn't work for them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like these wolves then just came out of nowhere, out of the fog, just
Yeah,
chasing me.
they
How are
know
they?
where you are, but you
Yeah, how
don't
are
know
they
where.
seeing me
Yeah.
already before I can't see them? You know.
Yeah, and
Um,
like I say, if that is the bug, and actually when they fix that, it becomes like you can see the mob and go, "Shit, let's not go there," and then turn around and come back. Like we can certainly look at it at that point, and like if you can see, you know, like So take the example, we were with Wawa Wolf, weren't we? And we were heading west, which is we know is the higher level area. But it would be nice if you could go into, like past a tree line. So as the way Fog of War works, if people haven't seen it, is like if I'm behind a tree, I can't see round or
Oh
the other
yeah,
side of the tree.
yeah. You can see it
So
there, but
if you could, yeah, so if you could break the tree line and there's an enemy, it would be nice if you have a chance to react before it
yeah,
instantly. And like you
yeah,
say, when that clip you showed where it was uh, you're running, but the wolves are already beelining for you, and you couldn't even see them.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I'm going to take that as it's a known bug, and that
yeah.
is why it was how it was, as opposed to this is what they want the game to
No,
be.
well, yeah, it's like what
So
they say. To your point before, where people think this is its own sort of playtest area and it's not actually a representation of the game. I don't
mhm,
feel like that anymore. I know Pop Art in our Discord said that yesterday. Um,
yeah,
but I just don't feel at this point now, especially now that they've given, like, over the weekend, they were giving keys to bigger streamers who were then, you know what I mean? They were giving keys to them to hand out to people, like Narkiverse and stuff. They had keys to give out. You wouldn't be letting those streamers not see a real representation of your game because it's free marketing now. You know, you
yeah,
wouldn't be marketing a product that is worse than the actual product that you're selling. You know
you're
what I
trying
mean?
to
Like,
sell. Yeah,
yeah. Like, so I
yeah,
do feel like this is the game. I don't feel like this is just a special area that they've created, and that's why some of the quests don't work because they've just dropped it all in. I don't.
yeah. I'd echo that because if you look at what they have added, so like Big Mamas has obviously arguably been the center point of all of the playtests. That was always the meeting point. Like they have changed how that looks. They've moved the cauldron away. They've added the fires and stuff. Why would you change the asset design for that in the playtest when it's if you weren't going to put it in the game?
Yeah,
Like why would you add that NPC on the path along that initial thing to do the campsite, like you were saying, if it wasn't going to be part of that part of the world?
yeah,
Um, and y- I I do also understand people saying, "Oh, it's they want to keep the game under wraps." And like you say, I think Papa had kind of that kind of vibe of like they don't want spoilers. That I think even if this was so what we think it is this is the beginning experience. There isn't really any spoilers because it's basically you've come out of a portal, you're new to this world, and they're like, oh, you need to get registered, and that's kind of as far as it gets. And you help a few miscellaneous. I don't think we've seen any main NPCs that are gonna crop up further down the line and be like, that's da da
yeah,
da.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think it's just purely like Big Mama lives there. She looks after the food. Like
yeah.
that's it. So I don't think the whole spoiler thing. It doesn't make, like you say, it doesn't make sense. Why would you go to all that effort just to
It'd be nice to start
not
getting a
have
bit
that
more
bit?
trickles of the lore sort of stuff and the overarching campaign of the world in the
Hmm.
next sort of playtest. Especially, yeah. I guess we'll just start. Do you reckon we'll just see this? We'll see this beginning part again, and we'll play the same quest in the next playtest as well, but just see the iterations because I guess that's the only way you can test that it's getting better. Like I I
Mm.
noticed in this playtest, and I'm pretty sure I'm like 90% sure he never did this in the first one, or we wouldn't have had the complaint. But he is called Zeke, isn't he? The guy that you have to go
I
and
think
find
so.
his brother.
Yeah.
He
Or
now
Zek or
says
something like that.
Zek, yeah, he now says to you, you'll want to do some other quests because out there where my brother is too hard.
Yeah.
He never said that in the first playtest, did he? Which is um, which is just a direct response to some of the problems that we had again, which is so good to see. Because I was like, oh well, if
Yeah.
this was, because I went to him straight away as you do because that's where you're sent to, and I was thinking, oh perfect, like now he's telling me like I need to go and do some things, so I went instantly to go pick up the weeds because I knew that was a quick quest. I went over to the pipes. I'm
Mm.
I don't like the new
Pipe.
pipe quest. It's gutting. I really
The pipe.
enjoyed. What the fuck? What are you laughing at?
I just well, Wawa Wolf was a perfect example. He spent 11 hours on that quest
What? And still couldn't do it. Yeah.
to to get the 3 pieces of pipe that you need because they're world drops. And obviously inherently he wasn't just purely beelining that. He was exploring the world where they dropped.
Yeah.
11 hours, like there's some AAA games that come out that aren't even that long, especially the Modern Warfare campaign that came out recently.
Yeah. It's a shame that we lost. So the last episode that we were going to put up, I went through and rewrote the sort of intro to the game,
Yeah.
which sent
Yeah.
you up to Zeke's, who then said, as he did in this playtest, you need to go and meet some people because it's too hard out there. And then I had it, so you'd go to Big Mama, she'd say, "Oh, you're going out looking for Thingy's brother. I'll give you some food, but unfortunately my supply hasn't come in, so you need to go and meet the robot who's at the wheat field or whatever. Pick up the weeds. He'll give you some food. Sends you to Big Mama's, who's then like, oh yeah, I'll cook you this food now so you can get on with that quest. But as she starts to cook the quest, the power for the cooker breaks, who then sends you to the pipe guy. You complete that quest, who then powers up Big Mama again. So yeah, and I had it all looped up like this.
You did, yeah. It worked pretty well. It was, and that's the kind of thing of like that insular first beginning bit, like will keep the person in the game there because they know what they're doing. And I did pop into a few streams outside of my own, and again, I've forgotten the name, but there was just one person who when you just kind of click and then it loads in, and within like 2 or 3 minutes, and their response purely was, "I don't know what I'm doing here, man." Like he just had no idea, and it's kind of like the plus side of that was the community in the chat were very nice and be like, "Hey, have you thought about looking at this?" And da, da, da. So there was like a nice thing about that, but like I don't know, I just don't feel like it's a good vibe. I can't hear you, Carl. You've gone. Might be on Discord.
Hello? 1 second. So you can hear me on stream now again. Who knows what's just happened there? You can hear me now, Mike, yeah? No? Hello? Hello?
Hello, I can hear
There
you
you
again.
go.
I don't
Yeah,
know what happened there. You just went dead.
no idea.
Sorry.
Yeah. These are the technical faults that you get when you start to do this live.
Yeah.
I never addressed, by the way, Mike, that you're currently on holiday right now for Christmas.
I am on holiday. I'm away in an undisclosed location for Merry Christmas times.
So yeah,
Yeah,
cheers for being
and
here, Mike.
I brought brought my
You brought your mic. I can't believe you brought it on the arm as well.
yeah. Oh yeah, if I'm gonna go in for a penny, in for a pound. Um.
Yeah.
So
What
yeah, what were we saying?
we're just sort of talking about the leveling experience, and they've said that they're going to do more tutorials for that beginning bit, which is nice.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything that else I want to address other than sort of.
It certainly improved the food this time round. You remember when I was talking about
You
the
went into the stats, didn't you?
ingredients and stuff, and it just didn't add up. An interesting point is food scales with you.
Yeah.
So this bread, like that I quoted last time, rather than it just having a static 2 mana a second or whatever it was, it depends on your level, which I think is brilliant because if you're level 10, you can have bread that's still I think it's based on your percentage
Yeah.
of your health and stuff. So you're getting the same amount out of it, which then when you make your blueberry bread or your wet burgers or whatever it is, there's an inherent value to them. And like you say, having the natural campfires, there were 2 campfires as well, weren't there? There was one that gave you just mana and health,
Yeah.
but slower. And then there was another one by Big Mama, which gave you a 200% if you ate food.
Yeah.
So it benefited you eating food at that one and then sitting by the other to get the mana back. So
Yeah, I really enjoy the campfire feature. I really love like
Brilliant.
being out there and just setting up a campfire and both sitting down to regen and eat some food. I wish it lasted a bit longer. I wish you could get one that. I wish you could get one that you could cook food on,
Yeah.
and craft on. I think that'd be great.
That's
Like
basic stuff. Yeah.
maybe it could be like a party fire or something that you both put resources towards, and then it lasts a bit longer and it's a bit more of a permanent structure for 2-3 minutes or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
I think I said on my stream I'd like it the basic one on a cooldown. Just have it on a 3-4 minute cooldown. It's a base one,
yeah,
and then if you want to add stuff to it, like you say, maybe put better logs because that's how it kind of seems to work. If you put the heartwood on, it makes it better, and if you put tree roots on, it makes it a bit different. So maybe having a default campfire,
yeah,
which you can right click upgrade, and like you say, you can chuck resource on from whoever
yeah,
to make it a better bonfire. Oh, well, make it into a bonfire. Heck, why not?
yeah. Also, just like a little thing I think I noticed this time, radiuses on spells and stuff like that. I feel like they were more prominent this time. I feel like it was
Mhm.
showing me every time I was attacking stuff, it was showing me what the radius was and the area of attack. I don't feel like that was
Yeah.
in the first playtest.
No, no, and if it, I mean, I'm trying to recall from memory here now, which is never the best. There was certainly indicators, but I feel like they've refined whatever that system
Yeah,
is to make it better. Like you say, when I was using the blast medic where you make the clone, the pathing it showed was much more distinct. So I wasn't like misclicking it or firing it off in a bit weird angle sometimes.
yeah,
Um, it would have been interesting if to play the legionary, see, because obviously they had that chuck and stuff, which might have been interesting. But yeah, overall, I think on that aspect, um, again, just improvements on across the board.
yeah,
Um, and certainly not the best. Like, but it's also alpha. Like,
yeah,
I always bring it back to that of like, for an alpha, it's absolutely brilliant.
yeah. It is. It's really good. Um,
Yeah,
so to look towards the future, they've said now that they're going to be hosting the next playtest at the end of February. And based on
yeah,
the results of the next test is when they'll determine an early access date, or
mhm,
whether more tests are necessary before that.
yeah.
I can't see them going to early access after the next test. There's still loads of systems that we haven't even seen. Talents, we haven't seen any sort of dungeons. Um, we've only
Haven't
seen
really seen the game in
we
the
haven't yeah
grand
we've
scheme
only
of
seen these
things.
handful of quests, and like Harap says in the chat before, he says that the pipes quest has already changed 3 times. So
Mm.
yeah, I feel
Yeah,
like
so
it.
if they
I feel
changed
like
it
it,
for that test, then
it's such a volatile state at the moment of what they're changing and what they
yeah.
want to keep. I can't see them going to the early test.
But
Well,
further reinforcement that that is a quest that is in the game because why change it 3 times?
exactly. Yeah, I
Yeah,
feel like the first iteration of it was the best one. Just give us a nice simple quest just to get a bit of easy XP. Like it doesn't have to be. It was quite nice just go in, chatting to him, run around the circle, pick up the pipes, install the pipes. Happy days. Doesn't matter. It's no more difficult than picking up the weeds that are in the field. You know what I mean? It's
mm,
not like you go to that robot and he says, "Oh yeah, you need to pick up the weeds now. You need to go kill 20 mobs to find the weeds."
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like
like
it's
I say,
yeah,
harder isn't better.
no,
Like a genuine benefit to scarcity in the sense of getting that rare loot. That's
yeah,
brilliant. I know there's also something in the fact of like some of those longer form quests that have maybe 10 steps, but each step shouldn't, like I say, that 11 hours to get 3 pipes, man. Like, I know there was probably a quicker way, maybe that you could craft pipes. Maybe there is like of doing shortcuts,
yeah,
which could be interesting. Like if it's like, oh, I need 3 pipes. They're lying around in the world, but if you've got the resources, you could craft them,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
and you could go out get the iron ore and just make the pipes yourself or the copper, whichever. Um, so that having multiple paths to complete a quest would be good. But yeah, just I don't even think I got 1 pipe in the time I played.
yeah. No, I didn't. No. So
So
we'll start to wrap it up here, but what are you wanting in the next test?
I'd like to see the Ranger. I'd like to see more classes. I'd like to see 2 classes. I'd like to see another ranged, and I'd like to see another melee
Yeah,
class, or maybe another magic, more magic-based class.
yeah,
Because we've not really got that at the moment. We've got Legionary, which is melee, Destroyer's melee, Blast Medic. It's not magic-ish, is it? It's more potiony. So
yeah,
maybe something like that. Um, I think a natural expansion of the area again. Um, I feel like we did pretty well in terms of the expansion this time. I thought the change from the Geiger counter to the woman whispering in your ear was really
oh, that was
spooky.
spooky.
And
Yeah,
she
that
was like, "Turn back," and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like I
just
genuinely jumped when
yeah,
that
just
happened.
started legging it back to town. Stay away from the
Yeah,
forest. There's a witch.
it was. I mean, it says something about the human condition where I can hear a Geiger counter. I'm going, yeah, I've got another 50 yards before I need to turn back. But a woman whispering in my ear, and I am off like a cat. You know,
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, okay, I'm sorry. You know, it's like, so yeah, so more area, more playable. I really want a dungeon. I
yeah.
really just want to see what that loop is. I want to be able to go in, see the jump mechanics,
That's
see
my
all
thing
those
now.
kind of
I just want a dungeon. I
things.
want to, yeah, I want to be able to just
Yeah.
loop a dungeon and get some XP from that. And I think another sort of biome as well, because we've just seen a lot of forest now. Maybe get us in like the swampy
Yeah.
area that you see in the alpha. Well, this is the alpha, but also a couple of years ago they showed a video of an alpha playtest, like the 15-minute video. In that, there's a swamp area.
The alpha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be great to sort of see a different biome and sort of just a
Yeah.
new area.
Not I don't want
A
to go off
city.
on a wild
I want
tangent
to see
on
a
that.
city.
Yeah. I was just going to say, how do you do fog of war if it isn't trees? I wonder how they'll implement that. Because obviously cities, buildings, that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
But I wonder how
I guess they'll just do it with the area radius, won't they? It'll just be like sight. You know,
fog.
yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. But yeah, I agree. I just want that dungeon just purely to see how their vision of a dungeon is, because you see the bit on the thing where like you say they're jumping over the gate and it takes 2 of them to go on that and stand on that pressure plate to do that. Like, give me that. I want to see that in the next
Yeah.
playtest.
Yeah. Right. Well, thank you to everyone who's watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. There have been some technical faults, but that's what you get when you come and start doing it live for the first time.
That's it.
If you have enjoyed it, I've put a link in the chat to our Discord. We've got a few Corepunk heads in there now. I think there's like 50 members, and we all just chat Corepunk in there.
Yeah.
And we'll be back after the new year. I think the next episode will be going through some of the community's feedback and their sort of response to the alpha, and we can sort of pick some of our favourite suggestions that they have. So yeah, if you are submitting feedback to the team after playing, if you join our Discord, there's a channel in there where you could submit some feedback as well to us that we can then read out on the podcast in future. But yeah, if you didn't know, if this is your first time seeing us, this is the Corepunk podcast. We usually do this on YouTube at Corepunk Podcast. It'd be great if you gave us a little like and a follow over there.
All our archive stuff's there.
Oh yeah,
We
there's
talk about
32 episodes.
Go and watch the early episodes when we were like, "Hey, open beta is going to be 6 weeks away."
Yeah, yeah,
Several years later.
yeah.
But yeah, it's good.
We thought we'd be playing the beta 3 years ago, and here we are.
Here we are. But it's all good. Thank you for coming along on the journey with us if you have so far as well.
Yeah. Happy holidays to you, whatever you celebrate. And we'll see everyone in the new year. Have a nice time, Mike. It was good seeing you.
Yes, you too.
All right, buddy.
See you soon.
Right. Take care, everyone. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.